Hey everybody, it's Wes with Fundamental Games, bringing you another Tabletop Simulator game preview. Today I'm talking about For Glory, the game of gladiatorial combat and deck building. But not only For Glory has an expansion called the Champions expansion. So today I'm just going to review some of the components and concepts of the game and share 5 things I like about my first impressions of this tabletop board game. Now, this board game has been out since either earlier this year or late last year. I believe it delivered on its first Kickstarter with really great reviews from people like Alex Radcliffe and Jeremy Howard and Quackalope. And now this expansion adds even more to the mix to this already cool, was originally a 2-player game and now turning into a 3 to 4-player game. So let's just share 5 things that I've liked about it, just in kind of helping them build the tabletop simulator so they had something to work with, and in reviewing some of the cards and mechanics and reading the rule book. So first off, I love the theme. I love the movie Gladiator. I love the concept of gladiatorial arenas, even though if you think about it now, it's pretty cruel what these warriors may have had to go through, if they were warriors at all in some cases. But this theme really does makes it seems like they are true heroes within an arena. And so if we take a look at the theme, you can see here on the visuals of the card these heroic champions that are ready to spill blood and maim each other for the benefit of the crowd. So I think that theme is well established. That theme is also established well not only in the concept of the different decks. You can see here there's a training supply deck. And so in here, we are going to be able to do things with our gladiators, like learning how to counterattack, backstab, brutal strikes, pierces. So you can adapt your play strategy based on the ways that you're developing your gladiators. So training your gladiators, that's thematic. There's a gladiator supply deck, so you can have more and more gladiators, because even though you're going to have champions in the expansion, you need a pool of not so heroic gladiators to still do the grunt work. And maybe they'll do most of the work in your game, depends how your game goes. And then the third one is an economy supply deck, because not only do you need to train them, you need to recruit them in the first place. So you have these people that can help impact your game. They're called patrons. You can get economy cards that will help you acquire goods as you do your deck building. So the theme to me really speaks out. I think it's well played out in the deck concepts. The fact that there are different types of arenas that you can battle in, and those arenas will give you different benefits. So it's to represent that you're in different environments. And then there is your player boards as well, which really help you understand what's happening in your game. And that's a nice little tablet there. So the theme really speaks out. To me anyway, and the game comes with some real high quality components, which I'll talk about near the end here. So first thing is the theme really shines out in mechanics, artwork, and just overall imagery. So second thing I like is this is a deck building game. I love deck builders. I've played Clank, I've played Dominion, I've played Tyrants of the Underdark, I've played many other different versions of deck builders. So this one here, each player starts with a deck of 14 cards. So if we take a look, you can kind of see here there's economy cards you start with, some really basic gladiators, a couple of schemes, and a couple patrons. So really basic deck. Every player starts with the same deck. In the expansion, I believe every player gets a certain gladiator champion as well. I haven't read the champion rulebook, so I'm not exactly sure how you acquire those. But either way, you start with this basic deck, and on your turn, the machination phase, or if I phrased it correctly, you will be acquiring cards from this market of cards here. And your opponent's going to be acquiring cards as well. So if you buy a card that they really wanted, you might irk them, or you might prevent them from going down a route to strategy that they may have gone for. Or you may just get some of the best champions before they can pick them off. And so when you purchase a card, like most deck builders, it's going to go into your discard pile, and then it'll get replaced from the market so that there are other cards to choose from. And so you're going to build up your deck, deciding whether you want to get more cards that will help with your economy later in the game, with your gladiators in the arena, with the training and special abilities that your gladiators may have. So it's an interesting deck building balance of what you're going to accrue and when, and whether it's going to be enough to stop what your opponent is trying to do on the other side of the table. Because when this game was first made, it was a 2-player dueling game, and the expansion brought that 3 and 4-player element. So deck building, I always love. I like the fact there are 3 different decks to choose from. They each have a fair amount of cards. With the expansion, there's over 60 cards in each deck, and so every game is going to be different because you're never going to get through an entire deck every game, which means there's always that variability that'll come in play that always partakes with deck building. And then when the sequence of cards you draw any given turn could be different too, because you draw 7 cards, or back up to 7 cards at the end of every round. All right, so that's the second thing. I love deck builders. This has a deck building element to it. It's one part of the game. The second part of the game is the actual arena phase. And I think that's where the 2-player focus really is my third point. 2-player focus with 3 and 4 being added, but I like that the original game had that 2-player emphasis, because there's only so many games out there that really drill in on player versus player mechanics, not relying on kind of the social interactions of a broader group. So when you're playing 2 players, I like the deck building makes you think about what you're going to take and how that could affect your opponent's decisions, how and when you're going to be triggering what's called a boast deck. So if we look at the 2-player, there's a boast deck, and this boast deck will basically trigger an arena battle. So you and your opponent are going to be acquiring gladiators. Those gladiators are going to have a certain amount of I can't remember the word, but they have a certain amount of points that attribute, and once the points hit that 6 value, that means a fight has to happen. And then the next time it's at 14, and then 19, and then 24. So as soon as that many gladiators worth are kind of purchased or represented by each player, or total amount for the players, then the arena battle has to happen. And I like that 2-player element where you can actually take control of when you're going to trigger the next arena. So maybe you're going to bring it on much earlier than your opponent wanted, or maybe you're going to kind of stall it out and they have to do a lot of the purchasing in order to trigger the battle, but you have some kind of trick up your sleeve when the battle actually does take place. So there's quite a bit of back and forth and strategy behind that in this 2-player focused game. So that's the third thing I like, is that 2-player focus. Fourth thing I like is the combat timing and strategy. I've watched playthrough videos. I've kind of done mock playthroughs of my own. And what I like about it is that you're going to have to time what sequence your cards are played in. So you don't just play out all your cards on the table during the arena battle. You may play your gladiator at a certain point, and your opponent will as well. But then you may time it and play, let's say, this card from your hand. Maybe you have a counterattack in your hand and your opponent doesn't know it, and your opponent plays out a brutal strike. But if you're able to do a counterattack, you can reassign 3 damage from your gladiator to one of your opponent's gladiators because you're doing a counterstrike. But then maybe they have another card that will negate your counterstrike, or is even stronger than the original brutal strike, which you wish you had saved your counterstrike for. So timing of cards played and reactions done is very integral to the gameplay. And your deck building in the earlier parts of the rounds, or each round, will have a huge impact on how well you can perform in the combat phase of the round. So like that part of it. And then the fifth thing I like about it is the art and the components of the game. Now, you can't see it in here, but there are very high quality components in the real version of the game. So these tokens that I have, obviously made out of nothing because this is a digital table, but these are actually metal coins in the real game, and metal coins are a great component to have. I don't have many games that actually come with metal coins, so it was kind of neat to see that in their game. They have a metal crowd's favor token, so this is a figurine. Doesn't look like one here, but the real game has a figurine. Has some nice glory tokens, some well-made damage tokens. The expansion has some well-carved blessing tokens, all high quality, and all of the cards are a linen finish in the final version of the game with really nice artwork. I mean, you look at this work and it's all very consistent imagery. So I believe they had the same artist do all the cards, or artists with very similar style. But I'm pretty sure it's all the same artwork. And it reminds me of the art from a more recent game called Kleos that was released not too long ago by a guy named Jim Cav. But just really like that style, and the gladiators look fantastic. The new champions artwork here, these are the new components to the expansion, and what they do is you start with a champion, but then that champion kind of levels up. So you can see here he's he's decked out in some real basic armor, shield, and whatever kind of giant sword that is with a helmet. Here you can see he's I don't know, he's not wearing any more equipment, but he just looks just a little bit more tougher. Then we go to this version of him, and you can see he upgrades some more, and now he's really ready for battle. And then he's just, actually this guy doesn't change much in armor, but I think some of these characters do. Yeah, this person here really starts to build up their how they look. Even his headdress gets some black stripes in it. But I like the components, and I like this new component aspect of the level up kind of concept of these gladiators. Really, really cool. So there you have it, 5 things I like just using the Tabletop Simulator version of For Glory. It's publicly available, so if you check out this on Steam, you can take a look at all the cards. You can read through the well-made rulebooks. They're just in this drawer here. It tells you how to set up the game. You can read everything the expansion has to offer. Or you can check out their Kickstarter page, where they've got videos from content creators and GIFs all over the place of how this game works. If you've played the original For Glory and you have anything to say about it, put it in the comments. If you're backing For Glory just because you love what you see here, or you were already backing it and this video just kind of helped re-explain what you might have already known, still, let me know. Either way, thanks as always for watching one of my videos, and have a wonderful day.